Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rodmotive JT. Out cruising around this morning in the Jeep Gladiator, running a couple of errands. Had to pick up some sweet tea and a couple of croissants. I'm hungry. And I'm thinking as I'm driving along, the Jeep Gladiator's kind of a funky little beast, if you really think about it. I got in it yesterday, matter of fact, and I took off from the house and I got about 2-3 minutes away, something like that, and the radio stops working. I look at the screen, it's black. I'm like, oh no, don't tell me at 3,069 miles, that's right, it's pretty low mileage Jeep, I'm gonna start having radio troubles. But then I remembered, the Jeep Gladiator, Jeep in general, is kind of funky anyway. It does a reset when it's refreshing or updating. So I am assuming that it was just updating. It's the first time it's happened since I've had this Jeep Gladiator. So I'm hoping that's what it was. I've had it happen in other Gladiator or other Jeeps, but it always happened early on, like shortly after I bought them. Of course, this one is used, so I don't know if it ever did it from when it was brand new or not. But I'm going to go with the assumption that it was just a little software update, because it did pop back on pretty much right away. It went black long enough for me to notice and look at it. And then the screen came back and it started playing the tunes that I had on when it happened. Next, reverse. I discovered this one day. I was sitting in my driveway, and I guess I'm a little old school, because I guess all the youngins don't do this anymore. They depend on all the cameras and stuff like that. But I was in my driveway, I was beside something, and I was going to back up, and I opened the door, because that's what you do. At least that's what I do. I opened the door because I couldn't see right down beside the tires. I don't have those little extra mirrors like I have on my Tacoma. But I opened the door, I hit the gas, it moves about a fraction of an inch, and oof, it stops. And I'm like, what the heck, did I hit something? What's going on? I mean, it was a pretty firm stop. So I did some research and I discovered that it's a little safety thing that Jeep has. In other words, you can't back up with your door open because you don't want to get injured. They're thinking that maybe you're going to step out while the Jeep is in reverse and, I don't know, get hurt or something. And of course, that's because there was some lawsuit somewhere where somebody actually did that. God forbid that anybody should be responsible for themselves. But somebody actually did that, I'm sure, and got hurt. And now we all get to deal with this quirky little thing. Now, I will say, because this comes up on the channel, well, what happens if you take the doors off? Well, if you take the doors off, you're unplugging the wiring harness, right? So that's what really controls when that feature works, when that harness is plugged in when the doors are on. If you take the doors off and you unplug the harness, it doesn't kick in, it deactivates. Now, I've had a couple people say, well, why not just unplug the harness? Well, if you unplug the harness, you're going to lose all of the controls that are in that door, like your mirrors, like your locks, your windows. Well, not your windows, because remember, they're down in the middle. Another little funky Jeep thing. Your locks, all that stuff is going to go away because you've disconnected its brain, right? The power is gone. Just another little funky thing about the Jeep Gladiator. Next up is the auto stop problem. And yes, it is a problem. Now, is it a problem for everybody? No, not for everybody. And it's not even a problem for me right now. However, it has been a problem for me in the past in a different Jeep Gladiator that I had. My first ever Jeep Gladiator. Kind of left a little sour taste in my mouth, so I keep talking about it. But it's one of those funky Jeep Gladiator things. And if you're not familiar with it, you have auto stop. That's the feature where you pull up to a stop sign, stop light, whatever you're doing, and it shuts off. It's supposed to save on emissions. A lot of people think that's a gas saving feature. It's not. It's an emissions thing. So that all of those cars, ideally, if everybody had it, don't sit there burning gas while they're not moving. As soon as you let off the brake, it's supposed to instantaneously start. You take off and go about your way. The problem with the Jeep Gladiator is that auxiliary battery doesn't like to stay charged. At least this is my theory. It doesn't like to stay charged. So it runs down, deactivates the system stops working, which is not a bad thing because I hate that system. But it throws an error code, or not a code, but an error light on your gauge cluster. You'll look down and you'll see there is an auto stop malfunction. What a bummer. I mean, who wants to look at that? Especially if you have a brand new Jeep Gladiator. The last thing you want to do is look in your dash and see lights starting to pop up, right? Terrible system. Another thing, the top. You know, it has the freedom panels right here in the top, which, by the way, are pretty fragile. I had stored a couple on one of my previous Jeep Gladiators, pulled them out from under a bed, and they'd never been impacted or touched that I'm aware of. And one of the corners was chipped. They're black, the material underneath is white, so of course that is a glaring problem for me. I had to touch it up with a little bit of paint. I don't have the hard top on here now anyway, I have the soft top, but it was just annoying. But that's not the funky part. The funky part is the back part. You know, you're supposed to be able to take the top off, right? And I would say, unless you are a devout weightlifter, or maybe just a really gifted, strong person, you're gonna need help doing that. And not really so much because it's heavy, but because it is awkward. It's bulky, it's hard to balance it. And the last thing you want to do is drop that thing. It's made out of the same material as those freedom panels. So if you drop it, chances are you're going to crack it, break it, damage it. Something bad is going to happen. Again, the last thing that you want to have happen with your new Jeep Gladiator. You know, I get a lot of comments on the channel, people saying, Rob, we never see you with the top off. When are you going to take the top off? Well, the reason I don't take the top off is because it's such a pain in the arse to take off. I have to have help or some kind of a hoist or something to be able to do it. So frankly, I just don't do it. The solution for me with that would be if Jeep came up with some sort of a multi-part system, maybe if it had two parts. I mean, they did it with the freedom panels in the front, right? They could have it like in halves, where it's split down the middle. You have a couple of little pull cranks or whatever you call them, latches like you do in the front, that hold it down tight. Why can't they do it that way? It would be a heck of a lot more manageable if you could split it in half and then this lift each half off over the edge. Come on, Jeep, are you listening? That would make it much easier. They do have, I believe, or at least it's an aftermarket option, a soft top that's electric where you can push a button and the top will go down. But who wants a soft top? I don't want a soft top. I like being able to knock out all the noise and have it more secure with at least a partial hard top in the back. As I mentioned, I do have the soft top here, so it kind of defeated that a little bit. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, talk about that a little. You know, Jeep is a funky little beast. It's got some quirks, some things that you just have to deal with if you want a Jeep Gladiator. Leave a comment. Let me know if I left anything off. Any other little funky or quirky things that you've noticed? I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about the mighty Toyota Tacoma, and Mod Driven, right now, mods and things for the Mercedes C300, although changes are coming. It's a new year. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button here, too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.